Hello. Happy Winning Wednesday. Hi, guys. How are y'all? How are y'all doing today on this fine 5th of February? All right. I have my little ring light on, which is making my smoky eye like very, very nice looking. So, um, yeah, let's talk about thoughts. Let's talk about thoughts. Um, I don't know if you are at all like me, but I have this constant like B-roll of thoughts that are going through my head at all times. And what's really interesting is there are some people that don't have this inner dialogue, right? Like if you've seen some TikToks that have come out, like some people are just experiencing the world in um, shapes or a constant visualization or feelings, and they don't have the internal mental chatter, which is really interesting to me because like that's all I got going on up here. There's always chatter going on. I'm always thinking as I'm talking, and sometimes like that gets in the way. Sometimes I lose my train of thought because of that. So if you're like me, if you have this constant chatter that's going on, or maybe like it's like the web page with like the 24 tabs that are open on the top, like that um, that is probably one of the easiest ways to explain it. Like there's constantly, something to look at. Like maybe you have a little ADD as well that, like you have something that's in front of you, and then all of a sudden something over here happens and you're like squirrel, and then your tension is just here, 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 here. So if you're feeling like you're having this like whirlwind of thoughts, you're constantly swirling with worries and doubts and to-dos and what am I going to have for lunch and all of this like never-ending chatter, it can make you feel really overwhelmed and even disconnected from your body. So you actually do have the power to control this. You have the power to step back from that whirlwind. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to actually observe your thoughts. Act like you are the person in a movie theater that's watching all of your thoughts on a movie screen, and you're not getting sucked into it emotionally. You're just observing. You don't judge it. You don't think that this is a good or a bad thought. It's just you want to bring neutrality to it. You want to bring this is a thought that I have. This thought does not mean anything about me. I can choose to have this thought or not. Um, this is a thought option. I can choose to think it or not. Um, or I see you. I see you that. I see you giving me that. You're offering that to me. I see you, brain, for doing that. Um, you can even say, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting that you say that. That's interesting that I think that. So when you start to actually bring acknowledgement and awareness to your thoughts, again, think of your mind as a stage or a movie screen, and the actors are playing out different scenes. Instead of really getting caught in the drama, like you just choose to sit in that audience and simply observe it, observe the show. Um, or you can think of your thoughts as like clouds, like you're on the ground just watching as the clouds go by. Like this is a thought, this is a thought, this is a thought, because really you're not your thoughts. Like there's it doesn't mean this is your identity because you're thinking these thoughts. It doesn't mean that if you're judging something, you're not judgmental. Like you're not, yes, there are things that you judge. Your thoughts, you are judging. You're judging your actual thought. You're not judging, like it doesn't mean that this is true about you. This is not your identity. So when you notice a thought is arising, whether it's a worry about the future, or am I good enough, or a regret about the past, or self critical judgment, like just simply acknowledge it. Say to yourself, there it goes again. There goes that thought again. You can even say, there goes that judge again. That judge that is judging the thought that I'm having right now. I'm noticing this thought about. So the thing is, like, when we're trying to push away the thoughts, when we're trying to say that's not a good thought, I don't want this thought. Stop thinking that, right? Like I need to stop thinking this. You're giving it more energy by having that judgment behind it, by thinking that it's a bad thought, by putting like all this you know frequency towards this actual thought being a bad thought. Like if you put all your energy there, guess what? It's going to happen more often because your brain is like it pays attention to the things that it thinks is important. If you are putting a whole bunch of energy on something that you don't want to think, that you don't want, like this is also kind of, when we get into laws of attraction, like The Secret talks about, thoughts are things. Like they're the more energy that you're putting towards things, the universe doesn't know like this is something you do want or don't want. If you're putting all your energy into something that you don't want, guess what? It's going to continue on. It's going to get bigger and louder, and the thoughts are going to come more often. So don't push it away. Don't make it good, bad, wrong, right or wrong. Just analyze it. Observe it with curiosity and compassion, like a scientist would observe a fascinating specimen. So the more that you're willing to look at this, like, or rather the more that you're not willing, like you cannot change anything that you are not willing to look at. And I'll say that again. You cannot change or rewire anything that you're not willing to address, to acknowledge. If you are so scared of feeling that thought and push it away, you're not going to be able to fix anything. And it's funny because, the brain is really, it's tricky. It thinks it's really smart, right? Like, and it is, but it'll think that it's doing something right or in the correct way by bringing your focus somewhere else. So again, going back to like the laws of attraction and manifestation. So they talk a lot about thinking positive thoughts, like turn your negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And yes, that is true on some level. But if you beat yourself up for thinking a negative thought, guess what? You're going to continue. You're going to continue thinking the negative thoughts because you're providing the energy towards that thought. If you are constantly pushing a thought away and trying to change it into a positive, that's also not entirely helpful, because if you are trying to change it into positive, and again you start to think negative, and then you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why am I still thinking negative? You're further implanting it in your brain that you can't do this. And trying to think positive all the time is just not something you can do. Like, we're all, even people that are the most versed in this kind of work of thinking positively still has bad thoughts. Like, you're not ever going to not have bad thoughts. That's the thing. Life happens. Shit happens. You're going to have things outside of your control that come up, and you can be disappointed about it. It's okay to have disappointment. That is a normal human reaction. But how long you sit in it is up to you. So if you are trying to beat yourself up, think positive, think positive, think positive. I can't think negative. That's a one-way ticket to depression. Because again, if you start to think the negative thoughts and you can't control yourself, you're going to beat yourself up and then think something's wrong with you. And then you're just basically going to put yourself, your frequency down into this like down of the dumps level. And it's just not going to serve you. So again, look at your thoughts as just mental events, like fleeting suggestions that come and go, again, like clouds in the sky. Observe them and disconnect them from you. Because again, your thoughts are not your identity. Your thoughts mean jack shit about you. You do not, it does not make you a bad person for thinking this. Right? Like, has anybody ever had those like really intrusive thoughts? Like, oh my God, I just want to like murder my husband. Like, those thoughts are part of human experience. But it does not mean that because you're thinking, I want to murder my husband right now, like that you're actually going to A, do it, that you are a murderer, and B, it doesn't make you a bad person for thinking it. So thoughts are not facts. They are not factual things. If you think a thought, if you make a decision, it doesn't mean you have to act on it either. You can make a decision that, like I'm not happy where I'm at anymore. Doesn't mean that you have to up and burn all your bridges and leave right then. You can make the decision to stick it out for a little while longer. You can make the decision to, say you're in a job that you hate, to, look for something else for a while. And if nothing comes up, then you stick it out for a little bit longer. You stay at your job. Right? So separate them. Is this true or is this just a thought? I talked a little bit about this the other week, maybe in the masterclass. So if somebody is going through an experience and you're thinking that they're thinking something, right? Like you think that they have something going on, or maybe you see somebody's face and you're thinking that they're mad at you, right? Are they actually mad at you? Or is that just a thought that they're mad at you? So separate it. Your thoughts are not facts. So when you start to do this, then you can gain control of your thoughts. You gain control of your feelings. So your thoughts create your feelings, right? Your feelings create your actions and your behaviors. So if you're constantly thinking negative, self-critical thoughts, no wonder you feel anxious or overwhelmed or depressed or unworthy. When you start to choose to break that pattern, to acknowledge that these are just thoughts and you don't have to run with that thought, you don't have to believe that thought, you don't have to make the decision and act on it right now, like you start to shift your emotional state. You create more positive and a more fulfilling reality. Like, think about this. So, if there's ever been a time where you went back, and of course, hindsight is 2020, but if you have ever gone back and looked at somebody you dated and you were like, why the heck did I ever date that person? Or you had a really weird hairstyle that in the moment, like you thought it was really, really cool. And you go back and look and you're like, why did I ever think that looked good on me? Right? So this is an example that at that moment in time, emotionally, you made a decision. Because you made it off of your emotions. You made that that decision that you were going to do this thing and it was going to be really good and like everything's going to work out. And eventually, down the road, you look back and you're like, why? Why did I make that decision? Well, because it was an emotional decision. It was based on your emotions that you're having at that time. So we can always go back and look and be like, why the heck did I do that? But does it make you a bad person? No, because that's the information that we had at the time. That was what we thought was the thing to do at that time. Like that was what we felt was the best decision. And yeah, we don't always make the best decisions off of our emotional state. So that's what's really important about this. When we're separating our thoughts from our identity, from truth, it's taking the emotion out of it. We're not making these decisions based on emotion. It's data. Strictly data. We start to make it off as strictly data. So a couple things that I'm going to go through here. Your brain is hardwired to, like, from the beginning of time. Like, this is what we as humans were hardwired for. Like, our brain is constantly asking, am I safe? Because it does not give a shit if, like, you're happy, or if you are skinny, or if you are enjoying life, like living in the moment. It doesn't give a crap about that. None of that is important to your brain. The only thing that's important is, am I safe? Am I safe in this moment? Do I need to run? Do I need to get out of it? Do I need to evaluate my surroundings so that I can survive? Like, its only concern is survival. Like, it wants you to be safe. And so when anything that is new or change or unknown, it is going to come at you in that fear response like you're about to be eaten by a tiger. And guess what? We are constantly living in that state. We're constantly thinking that we're going to get eaten by a tiger. And we're not. But we're deeming that going out on stage is like getting eaten by a tiger and speaking to people. We're deeming that talking to your boss is going to be, it's going to kill me. Or that if I leave my relationship, it's going to, like, I'm going to die. This is what our brain thinks because it's new. It doesn't know. And it thinks of all the consequences, all of the things that could go wrong. And then you inundate your brain, your mind. It's constantly filled with these what if thoughts. So it's a constant roll. It's sucking all your energy out. So what we're hardwired with is avoiding pain, to seek pleasure, to conserve your energy, and to stay with the tribe. So, avoiding pain. We know that if we go and jump off a cliff, that's going to be pretty painful when we hit the ground, right? Like, we don't want to do that. So we know that we're not going to just go jumping off cliffs. Seeking pleasure. Pleasure is, the necessities like shelter, being warm, having food, having water, keeping our bodies alive, having sex, procreating, like these are things that bring us pleasure. And then conserving energy. If you are running around and not feeding yourself and like constantly go 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 go, eventually you're going to run out of energy and you're going to die. Like that's we need sustenance in order to make our bodies move. So if we continue to go without sustenance, then yeah, that's not conserving energy. So we need to conserve our energy. So we're gonna constantly, our brain's gonna put us on this be like the pattern that it knows, the repetition over and over and over again, because it knows that. It knows brushing your teeth, how to brush your teeth without you being consciously aware of it. If you're driving down the street, have you ever had that instance where you were driving and you don't remember the drive? You didn't know how you got from point A to B. Who was driving? Your subconscious, because it's automatic. It knows this routine. It's done this a million times before. When you're first starting to drive, no, you're paying attention to everything. You're like, oh my gosh, are my mirrors this way? Am my lights on? Is my foot on the brake? Is the person behind me too close? You're very much paying attention. But when you have done it for so long, it's automatic. It becomes automatic. It doesn't know. It doesn't need your full conscious attention. But if somebody comes and cuts you off, hello, ha! Now you're checking everything. Now you're like, oh my God, like I almost died. Like they cut me off. What? Like maybe you get some road rage from it, but your conscious mind kicks back into motion, and it pays attention to what just happened. But up until that point, your subconscious mind was in charge. So conserving energy. It wants to conserve it, so all the automatic things are going to become automatic to where you don't really have to consciously be there for it. And then staying with the tribe. Obviously, this is where you want your community. You don't want to have like the community out here foraging for food and then you wander off and then go get eaten by a lion either. We're seeking that that connection and that safety. So staying with the tribe, and this is where like the people pleasing comes in, like staying with the tribe is a necessity. So these necessities: avoiding pain, seeking pleasure, conserving energy, and staying with the tribe. All of those are hardwired. We cannot change those. But the thing is, we can make a relationship with them. We can work around it. So when we're recycling all of our thoughts, again, we're on autopilot. We have all these things that we've done over and over and over again, and they just become automatic. 95% of our thoughts are actually recycled. So again, if we're 85% of them are, negative thoughts, then that's not really going to serve us. So this is why we need to go into it like a conscious observer. We're just observing it. We're not judging it. We're not assigning a good or bad to the thought that we have. We're just, we're thinking about thinking. Like we're not our thoughts. We're just acknowledging that this thought came about. Like our brain thought this thought. It is what it is. Making it neutral. We had a thought. So if, again, you're avoiding something in life, like if your brain is trying to reverse that thought, like it's immediately like, oh, well, I'm having this bad thought. I should think about this instead. Like this is like a reroute. We're wanting to reroute our thoughts because we are not comfortable feeling that thought. We think we can't handle that feeling. Our brain thinks that we can't handle it. So when we think a really intrusive and really bad thought about something, what do? We tell ourselves that we're wrong for thinking it, that that's a bad thought. We can't have that thought. That's not allowed. But this is all a judgment. So trying to shift it immediately is not exactly helpful because it's avoiding. We're avoiding pushing it away so that we don't have to address it, so we don't have to feel it. And what I'm offering to you is to acknowledge it. Hell, even write these down. Like, write them down as they come out and notice what's the thoughts that come up the most often. What are you thinking the most often? Again, with me, constant B-roll going on in my head. Like, I am constantly thinking about everything that's going on. What's going to happen in the future? So, again, if we resist them, we can't change them. So, write them down. Write them down as you go through. What's your good judgments? What's your bad judgments? You can separate them out even. Make what we call a judgment journal. We have a page of all the good judgments that you're having and all the bad judgments that you're having about these thoughts. It's not about you, about these thoughts that are arising. Just write the thoughts down. And again, creating neutrality. So we're not judging. We're not assigning them a good or a bad. Like, you have your sides of the judgments, but like, it doesn't mean anything good or bad about you. Like, this is just saying, I see this thought. This thought came about. And so when we have control over our thoughts, then we can begin to have control over our feelings. So we're not flying off the handle over something that we thought about. We're not triggering this behavior because, again, thought, feeling, behavior. It's a constant thought, feeling, behavior, thought, feeling, behavior. So we're not, if we're cutting it off between the thought and the feeling, the thought and the emotion behind it, we won't jump into the behavior. And we can start to look at things like data. This is data. Is this a fact or is this a thought? Can we think something else about this? Can we separate ourselves from this emotion, from this thought? It's not our identity. Just think of it like one of my mentors says, think of it like as a buffet. Your thoughts are like a buffet. Now, if you go up to the buffet and you accidentally grab some Brussels sprouts and you're not a fan of Brussels sprouts, you're not going to go back to your table with Brussels sprouts on your plate and then notice that there's Brussels sprouts and fly off the handle and be like, what the fuck are Brussels sprouts doing on my plate? Who put them on there? Right? You're just going to move them to the side and continue to eat all your other things. Or if you're like one of those that you can't have it touch your other food, go get a new plate, right? Your thoughts are like a buffet. You can choose to take them, choose to have them, or not. You can do away with them if you want. My little Ring camera is kind of getting in the way of my light's getting in the way of my camera. But they're options. There are options on the buffet. So that's a little exercise that we're going to do this week. I also just started a 21-day journaling challenge. So the more that we're getting our thoughts out of our head and onto paper, the more we can analyze where they're coming from, the more that we can also get them out of our head. Because when we're constantly in this B-roll, again, constant thoughts, thought, thinking, judging, this or that about what thoughts are going through our head, when we're constantly rolling around, this is where we get into anxiety. This is where we get into overwhelm. This is where we feel like we can't do something. So get it out of your head, get it onto a piece of paper. So we're going to do a 21-day journaling challenge, and this is going to run up until the Visionary You program starts. So this, what I'm teaching right now is one of the things I'm going to be teaching inside of the program as well. And we're going to really dive deep into these things. We're going to really dive deep into the emotions so that we can make them neutral. Because again, we're not making them good or bad. We're just making them a thing. They're a thing that happened. They're a thing that's there. We're not erasing the past. We're not talking about what happened. We're just making the thoughts, the emotions behind it, and bringing them into neutrality. So journaling is going to help. We're going to do a different subject every single day, different journal prompts. So I really encourage you to take the time with this. And if you are feeling like, if you're brave enough, you can put some of your stuff in the chat or tell me you're done. Tell me that you did day one. So I already posted day one in the group. So it is there for you to start writing down what things are coming up. You can choose to share them or not, or choose to say day one is done. And this is going to really help you to organize what like process is going on inside of your brain. So I encourage you all to take part in that. Let's get some engagement. Let's get some engagement. We're talking about how our brain works. And I really love teaching this kind of stuff because it's really interesting to me. It mixes that side with the woo-woo and the sciencey side of it. So I really enjoy teaching about this stuff, and maybe others hearing it a different way, a way that actually resonates with them so that they can understand it too. Because I just I love it. I ran down the rabbit hole of understanding the brain because I really didn't understand as much as I thought I did in the beginning. Even coming from a sciencey background, I didn't understand quite as much why we do the things that we do. So it's helpful. I hope to see you all engaging and, at least telling me that you did it or not. And I will see you all next Wednesday. Have an amazing week. Love you all. Thank you for being in my community. Bye now.